can't see any of you at all. I'm just pleased that you can see me. I'm absolutely delighted to be here tonight to celebrate the Chinese New Year with all of you. You are one of our biggest and certainly one of our most active national groups, and it's really important to Oxford University that you do what you do. I think you provide a way in which Chinese visitors to Oxford feel at home and have a welcome. You provide a two-way conduit between Oxford and China, and you get to invite us to things like this that are really good fun. As you may have noticed, I'm not wearing my normal Vice-Chancellor's robes. In fact, I don't know how many of you know the Rocky Horror Show particularly well. I trust some of you do, but Tim Curry, who was Dr. Frankenfurter in that immortal production, once went to a sort of reunion, a get-together of all his fans, and he looked at everyone wearing very, very strange and revealing outfits and said, you know, I'm the only person here who doesn't look like me. Well, I'm slightly in that mode tonight. Oxford is one of the great centres of relationships, one of the great centres that works on Chinese issues in the West. We've got, I think I'm right in saying, I'm not going to look at the paper, 819 students and 142 Chinese national academics and over 70 people academics working on Chinese issues. And that's, of course, over and above the many students who are doing so. We've got a better than 400-year history of a relationship with China. We got our first Chinese book in the Bodleian in 1604. Nobody could read it. They didn't know which way up it went. And it was, I think, let me get that number right, about 83 years until the first person could say, well, actually, you've been doing it the wrong way round. But since then, it's been progress all the way. The first secretary talked of the extraordinary growth in numbers of students going between China and Oxford and between Britain and China. And we can't actually do the 27% increase he referred to, but it is true that since the late 1990s, the number of Chinese students at Oxford has increased year on year by about 20%. Now, the Chinese economic growth figures, as we all know, are very remarkable. I did a sum, according to Wikipedia anyway, they've grown 9.71% per annum over the same time, so that's quite a lot of growth, and it's fantastically good for us. I'm not going to say much more. I get to China occasionally. I've met at least one person here who's seen me there. I don't get there as often as I'd like to. I do, however, I've run a couple of three alumni sessions actually in China. 2 in the mainland, 1 in Shanghai, 1 in Shenzhen. The first ever Oxford Chinese students reunion in Shenzhen. And it is fascinating being somewhere when you can say to the mayor, people tell me that the population was a few hundred at the end of the 1970s, and now it's somewhere between 13 and 70 million. Do you know which? And he said, no, it's just somewhere in the middle. And we're not used to that. So it's an extraordinary place to go. It's tremendous fun to be there. We ran our first ever Asia lecture in Shanghai in December. We've had lots of people go and give particular science talks. I go there quite a lot and talk about things. But we actually had the university's first Asia lecture in Shanghai in December. And we're having our first ever Asia Alumni Weekend, a reunion in Hong Kong at the end of March. So I'll be back. I trust you'll tell everyone that you know who's already gone back to come and have a look and join us. Up until now then, it'll be obvious I've never celebrated the New Year in China. This is the nearest thing I've got to it so far. I trust that if the rest of the show will be as good as what we've seen already, I exclude the speeches, and I think it should be amazing. I'd like to thank all the organisers, particularly, I'm not going to pronounce it right, Xipeng Shen, who's the director of the academic division here. And it was a great pleasure also to meet the first secretary. There's lots of good work to be done there. But the most important thing is that I, like all the other guests, would like to say thank you to the organisers, but most of all to you for welcoming us all here, making it such fun, and if you can understand what I'm about to try and say, it is Xin ye hao, or the first phrase in Mandarin I've ever learned. Anyway, thank you all very much indeed.